The Spanish Announce Table.
It is episode 417 of the Spanish Announce Table, and a few things have happened this week in the wacky world of professional wrestling that we'll have to talk about. That's Tom over there. I'm Tim over here. It's Kenny Omega reaching for the brass ring back over there. And, man, Tom, I know you well, but for any
thanks.
of our folks watching and listening, is there anything new in your world before we dive into some stuff this week?
Not really. I mean, for anyone who doesn't know, maybe you're more of a newer listener and or watcher on the YouTube, but I have a tumor in my shoulder chest area. And so I've been doing some chemo to get that reduced because of the spot it's in. Can't be removed because then if it's removed, then I'm not using my left arm, yada, yada, yada. So got some checkups. My white blood cell count is a little low, which means I'm more susceptible to illness. So I'm back to, being a little bit more cautious than I was in the past. But things are looking up. Should have like 4 months from now, and then we're gonna do my first scan to see if the tumor's been reduced at all. So doing that, and then more importantly, Tim, going around Target today, just shopping around.
Yeah,
got me a Monday Night Raw set with Undertaker, Razor Ramon, and then the 1, 2, 3 Kid, not X-Pac. 1, 2, 3 Kid. So that's really the news.
I love it. For anybody watching live on the YouTube, hold that back up there for a second. What you may be missing here is on Razor's outfit, that's green. However, it looks blue right now because that's the magic of television. But
I thought if I put it in front of me, it wouldn't. But yes,
yeah, no.
I got you. Yeah,
right,
yeah.
It actually you no longer appear, however, but the background does. Again, magic of television. But that is awesome. You know what else is awesome?
The awesome voice.
The awesome voice. Oh, Theo being in the chat is awesome. He says, we got lots of rain here in California. We're not out of the drought yet.
Sorry, pal.
Man,
good luck.
Yeah. What is also is awesome is a guy named Bill. Awesome Bill from Dawsonville, who is our beer sponsor of the week, Tom. I love these beer sponsors of the week. I picked up the Saugatuck Brewing Company Blueberry Maple Stout. And it's stout.
Review? Review. What do you think?
It is stout. It is stout. It is much better when I put it in the container. I was trying to go from the can.
Out of the can?
And man, a stout out of the can tastes like an ashtray. You know what I mean? Now here, you get more of the full-bodied flavor here and it's smoother. Yeah. Yeah,
I typically don't like any alcohol out of a can if I have the choice. Obviously, if it's, if I'm in my early 20s at a college
party. We also
party,
don't drink like Coors Lights, like the greatest quarterback that's ever lived, Patrick Mahomes. But, we drink a little more.
Dude, I used to. I tell you what, there was one time I liked the taste of Coors Light so much, just for funsies to freak people out, and I actually did it. I did it on the podcast one time, but something separate. Yeah. I put Coors Light in my breakfast cereal, and I'd eat it with Coors Light, and they were like, "What the fuck?" I'm like,
Coors Light was my father's beer, so that's what I grew up drinking because that's what I stole from my dad all the time. But why beer is awesome and why we have a beer sponsor of the week is because Awesome Bill from Dawsonville, who, by the way, you should follow on Instagram. You should follow us on Instagram at Spanish Announce Podcast. You should follow Awesome Bill, Dawsonville, at Fuck Yo Mama 2 times. Now that's F-U-K. I should have got a graphic, right? That's F-U-K-Y-O-M-O-M-M-A 2X. You got to do it twice, right? If it's worth doing once, it's worth doing twice. So I heard Awesome Bill from Dawsonville always gets his trash out on time, never misses, always gets his cans back in when before they're legally need to be brought back in. Awesome neighbor, Awesome Bill from Dawsonville.
So much of an awesome neighbor that I've heard that he helps the elderly cross the street. Mm-hmm. I've also heard that Awesome Bill from Dawsonville is being elected the local mayor, even though he didn't run, because people want him to represent them in their community. Yeah. Huh?
I heard he's so awesome that he gets a 2-for-1 deal for 50% off. You know what I'm saying?
Carry the two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So you too can be the beer sponsor of the week, and we'll continue to talk about how great Awesome Bill from Dawsonville is. You can go to SpanishAnnounceTable.net, which is where you can always watch the show live as we're streaming it, or you can check it back throughout the week on our YouTube channel, right? You can go there. There's a donate link, or you can use our Cash App. We are Spanish Announce Table. Use that little $sign in front. You can always donate there, and just let us know. You know what I mean? If there's a specific beer, or if it's just like, hey, pick some up. You can also buy our shirts. I'm not wearing our shirts. I'm wearing a GCW shirt because, it's MDK all motherfucking day over here. But you can go to Pro Wrestling Tees, buy our shirts over there if you don't want to just give us money. I mean, we like either of those options. You know what I mean? Whatever you want to do with it. Theo says, I think that tumor inside of T-Mac is a parting gift from the spider that almost took him out.
That's a callback. That is a callback.
That's going back to the corporation days.
I tell you what, and that is, the tumor scared me, right? Because when someone says tumor, you think the worst. However, when my torso was twice the size it should be, and I was red and sweating, that scared me a little bit more because the danger was more imminent.
I remember prior to that, because you were at the show in the radio station here. We're doing it. We're recording, and you're like getting a little flushed and a little sweaty, and you're like, I get like a little, and you're like, but my mom had some, you're like, she had some, or was it stepmom or something? You're like, my stepmom's a nurse or something like that. And you're like, she gave me a couple meds. You were like, they expired a couple months ago, but they're all right. And I was like, Tom, you need to go to the hospital.
It took my mom banging down my apartment door, grabbing me by the wrist, taking me to urgent care. Yeah. And then the urgent care doctor or nurse, whatever it was, nurse practitioner said, hey, actually, I kind of blacked out because I was getting so nervous from their kind of concern. But she said this could have been deadly two different times. So
yeah, well,
fuck that spider.
I'd worked in hospitals for 10 years, and I was like, I don't recall many situations where people were like, oh, I got bit by a spider. I started swelling up, and then it went away. I was like, you're gonna need a little bit more direct medical attention. So, Spanish Announce Table PSA. You bit by a spider and you start swelling up, go to the doctor so you can still be here with us later, like Tom and Awesome Bill from Dawsonville.
Who's
Jeffrey
checking
in
in?
The chat. Yeah, he says, what's up, boys? Good to see y'all for another show. Awesome Bill from Dawsonville checking in. All right, so now we pulled back the curtain. It is Jeffrey Sills, Jeffrey Sills is Awesome Bill from Dawsonville, is fuck your mama 2 times, and he's the coolest person on the earth right now as far as that goes. I'm holding up the container here. The beer sponsor of the week.
He got me. Now I purchased it, but with his donation to our podcast and being the beer sponsor of the week, a legit real compliment that we're not making up from thin air. This is my favorite beer. It is seasonal. I was not going to buy it. He then became our beer sponsor of the week. So now I am drinking my favorite beer because of Awesome Bill from Dawsonville. Yeah. Fuck your mama 2 times.
Once again, because it is an Irish beer. You're seeing a little bit of magic of television where the certain parts of the label have disappeared.
Oh, you can still see it.
You get the point. This is what we do over here. You know what I mean? We're not a high run operation, and that's why we need your donations, right? So that we can have a few beers to laugh at ourselves, for fuck's sake. So, Tom, what isn't laughing matter? Albeit I've had a lot of laughs about it.
Oh, it's very a laughing matter.
It's very a laughing matter, I guess. Is the news of our, I know we said this when Vince McMahon was retiring, quote unquote, this is the biggest news story in the history of the Spanish Announce Table, but now this is, right? Like the Vince McMahon saga continues, and man, I mean, we can start wherever we feel like we need to start. I think everybody knows what's going on, right? Vince McMahon informs the board that he says, hey, I know you told me to leave because of these legal transgressions. He basically says in his letter, I hear ya, but any of those legal transgressions would not affect us so negatively that my expertise would be missed in the upcoming media rights, you know what I mean, pivotal time. So with that said, I'm re-electing myself the chairman of the board. I'm bringing 2 other board members back with me, and 3 of you are gone. And Furthermore, if you try to stop me from doing this, of course I'm paraphrasing, but this is the gist of it. If you try to stop me from doing this, being that I have 81% voting power and can do this, I'm just going to say no to every media rights negotiation deal, which is effectively tanking the company, right? So he held them hostage, and holy shit, right? So that comes shortly after Stephanie McMahon comes the next day, right? Stephanie McMahon resigns like the next day that he shows up.
Correct.
And he even says in the thing, like, he's coming back to broker a sale. Broker a sale of the company. And that's exactly what they say they're doing, which could happen as soon as a couple months, right? Just could be sold and done. And the rumor mill that is pro wrestling here, and this is why we're talking about this now. We want to kind of delineate. We've said we're not going to talk about speculation and the Sean Ross Shapps and all that jazz. Some of that got bled over because what is a very real Wall Street Journal news story is also kind of bleeding into the pro wrestling journalism world of, there's Sean Ross Shapps or whatever all their fucking names are, right?
Yeah.
But the rumor mill starts flying that not only are they selling, an agreement has been made, and it is selling to the Saudi Arabia Public Investment Fund, which sent people crazy. We even address it on our TikTok, which you should follow us at Spanish Announce Table Podcast. I think it's at Spanish Announce Table on TikTok. Jeffrey Sill says the donation and the beers only make the product better. Well, thanks. You make the product better. Awesome Bill from Dawsonville. I know you make Dawsonville better. You would probably make Dawson's Creek better.
Probably. Let's get back on track, though.
Right.
So here's okay. So we kind of said Saudi Arabia, but then
but that
reputable sources
comes back. Right.
Yeah. So reputable source, Ariel Helwani, who does primarily report on mixed martial arts. However, his former agent was Nick Khan, who is now the CEO of WWE. So I imagine his sources are pretty good, said, hey, Saudi Arabia deal is not going to happen. So now we're sitting here on a Thursday evening about to talk about AEW Dynamite. But before we do, we're going to be talking about this. And there's no sale. Saudi Arabia did happen, didn't happen. Maybe it's still going to happen. But Tim, I'm going to pose this to you. Do we think that this is all just a Trojan horse? Hey, put me back on the board because I'm not going to approve any sale. Okay, well, fine. Here, we're going to put you back on the board. And then 6 to 8 months later, it's in the best interest of WWE that it stays a family business and Vince McMahon will be the sole owner of World Wrestling Entertainment. Do you think that is a possibility? Because I do.
Yes, I do. Now, however, I think that was honestly the most likely to happen if it were to sell to somebody like the Saudi Arabia Public Investment Fund, which again, they didn't. They said, hey, that's not happening today. Like, no deal has been made, right? Is what they said. Now, that is a whole bag of worms that we can get into if and when that does become an issue, right? That's where we're starting to do the drawing of the lines thing, right? If you want to talk offline, hit us up on the TikToks, the table shows, the whatever. I got plenty to tell you about the Saudi Arabia PIF and what, you know what I mean? Why that's a horrific move for the industry at large. Now, it's probably not. If I were a betting man, and there's betting odds on this, by the way.
Of course.
That's the most plus money you can make is the Saudi Arabia PIF, right? So it's probably not happening, right?
And this is why I think, though. Yeah. Well, so this is why I think it is. It's not because Vince McMahon doesn't want to take their money and give the company over to them. So then they go private and then he becomes the decision maker on every single thing of which he wants to do.
Right.
I think the reason why it's such plus money on the Vegas books and things of that nature is because take a look at the Saudi Arabia Public Fund, whatever the fuck it's called. Right. And if you notice, they own Live Golf, right? They started Live Golf to go after the PGA. Hey, we're going to pay them more. We're going to have cooler tournaments, all that stuff. And every network from NBC to ABC to CBS to the Golf Channel said, we ain't doing business with you. So right now, Live Golf cannot get a TV deal, even though the Saudis have all of this money they're pouring into it. So with that being said, the TV deals for WWE are coming up sooner rather than later. And I think if Vince McMahon is a betting man, he's going to say, well, if I give it to him and I get the money, but then we don't get any TV contracts, well, then I'm out of a job by 80, right? So that's why I don't think it's going to happen.
Well, so I think there's a lot at pulled here. And I think people, look, I made a TikTok about some of this, and there's a lot of opinions flying our ways in the comments, right? And there's a lot of bros that want to act like Vince McMahon is just doing this because it's financially driven. He understands they're not going to make as much as they were before in the media rights, so now it's sell while high and cash out, basically. Which is true to an extent. I think he would make that decision only, and you would be stupid to say he isn't thinking this way, because he's shown us at every turn who the fucking kind of person he is. He's doing this because he's telling every one of those board members that tell him to leave, if I can't have it, none of you fucking can. I will sell it to Disney. I will sell it to the Saudi Arabians before any of you fucking have power over me. That is what he's doing here.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
In no way do I believe it's anything else. So unless he can say, my investment company, whatever the company was that owned XFL, right? That he made. If I can't buy out the remaining shares and once again turn it back private, then I'm selling it, right? Like, we're all going to fucking whatever, and all of you are out. Like, take your money and run, but like, we're done. And I think that's what he's doing. Like, I honestly think that's what he's doing, because that's the kind of fucking person he is. That is what he has always been. He will cut off his nose to spite his face, and that's where I think we're at. And so whomever it sells to, even if it's not this Saudi Arabia Public Investment Fund, which would probably be the honestly just worst thing to happen to wrestling ever, but even one of these other companies it's yes, right? So yes, they could just take it over and just be like, all right, well, we're taking it over. Vince and Triple H and stuff, you guys figure it out and keep running it. And as long as money's being made and we're, you know what I mean? We're doing things and everything's good. What happens is, like, with these corporations, like, let's say Disney owns it, right? And they're like, ESPN will cover it and we'll put it on the ABC channels and whatnot. When ratings do dip or something goes bad and they're like, all right, well, we've got to make a change, and Triple H, you're out. We're bringing in Freddie Prinze Jr., whoever it is, right? And now they're not doing good. And then, they're like third runs around. It's so no longer connected to anybody who like had that drive, motivation, determination to like make this live at all costs. It suddenly starts becoming a
and we know this. We know this from a local example where if you're not in this world, if you're not familiar with this world, you will not make it. I understand that Nick Khan right now is the CEO, and he does have ties from when he was a child growing up with The Rock on the Hawaiian Islands and all of this stuff, but he's still not a wrestler, right? Or he didn't grow up in the business. This is a unique animal all into itself. This is not something where, hey, I have 10 years of writing experience for Friends, so I'm going to come over here and run the creative for WWE. It's not that way at all. Yeah, there's injuries, there's drug habits, there's travel issues, there's so many things that like you have to be prepared for. So I do agree with you that if it is a Disney, which Disney, I think if I were ranking them, 5 would be Saudi, 4 would be Disney. Disney is in such a world of a hurt right now. They're trying to spin off ESPN because they're not making money off of that. So them acquiring new assets, I do not think is even remotely a possibility. Right. I could be wrong, but that's just how I'm reading it. But yes, to your point, if Comcast, who owns NBC, who then owns Peacock and, all the rest of the details of that, if they run it and they say, Triple H, hey, we're really hoping for 2.2 million each week and you're giving us 1.7.
Yeah.
We're going to try X person. So, that's when it all goes downhill.
The thing about the PIF is they're the most likely buyer to overpay. Because
they're the most likely.
Their objective is not necessarily profit driven, right? So they their goal is to enhance the image and the connections of the government worldwide.
It's entertainment washing. Right. It's saying, hey, everything's cool because we have this coming to our country. Right. Yeah, 100%.
So they're most likely to say now that what a group like Comcast or NBC Universal can do to counteract that is like, okay, but like yes, we won't pay you as much, but like now, like we are the platform that you used to have to do media rights with, right? So now we're talking different numbers and stuff like that. It's not apples to oranges, that kind of thing.
And on their side, they're thinking, hey, instead of us renting WWE every 5 years and doing a contract, how about we just own it? And then we have, 6 hours of content each week that we don't even need to think about. We already have a ready-made group that's going to watch it, join Peacock, do all the things. And I think that's where, again, Vince McMahon comes in and says, hey, I'll run the day-to-day. And they say, sure. They go, whatever, do it, fine. The interesting part is, if you go back to when we started this conversation, when Saudi was going to buy it, one of the secondary things there was, and then go private. Right. With Comcast, they are a publicly traded company, as of my understanding.
Yeah.
So then I don't know if, so that's where I don't, like you said, Vince McMahon bite his, what's the phrase? Bite his face, despite his whatever.
Yes, right,
whatever, right? But this is where I don't think he'll go to a Comcast, because he's a stubborn asshole who says it's me or nothing.
Yeah.
Where Comcast says you were kicked out before we were even involved. So
I mean,
that's why,
and that's the thing is like, so maybe it's not the PIF, because notwithstanding all the extra baggage that comes on that like if we start breaking them down, we'll be here for hours. But like, Jeffrey Sills said in the chat, he said, I think they leaked the news to see the reaction of the IWC. That of course crosses our mind, but I don't think they're the type of company to like leak a news to see the results, but like they pay attention. They saw the reaction, right?
Right.
But they're the type to also judge a negative reaction and be like, we can live with that. That'll blow over.
Right.
I mean, that's what Vince said in his thing, right? Like, this will blow over. So like, again, if somebody's willing to overpay, that's the wild card in this, is that if the Saudi Arabian Public Investment Fund wanted to, because they just absolutely wanted it, they would double any offer, and they could. You know what I mean? Like, they could beat anybody else bidding. But anybody. And it's like Jeffrey Sills said, Netflix or Amazon would be a great destination. I don't think that's true either. Look, Netflix is tanking money left and right as well. Amazon isn't, but like, this is what we're talking about. That corporate disconnect, when it starts having any kind of rough waters, they're just going to be like, you know what? We're just going to throw it away. You know what I mean? Like, they'll just be done with it, and that'll be the end of it. It'll be gone. Which, hey, you know what? We've been trying to tell all y'all to just abandon that ship anyway, because so Stephanie McMahon retires, or resigns, right? Says, I'm out. Now, we said, is this daddy? She's pissed off at dad. Now they can't come to an agreement. Now I'm leaving. Or did they sell to Saudi Arabia and they said, can't have a female CEO? Like, there's all kinds of shit to wonder about. But like, we've tried to tell you, these are trash bag folks. And Vince has proven that left and right. Vince is trash. We've discussed all the myriad of reasons why that is. This is furthering that narrative. But let's not say Stephanie McMahon is the victim here, nor is Triple H, nor is any of these board members that got fired, because they all knew, right? They all knew, they all have known, they either participated or they looked the other way, and I don't care if bad shit happens to them at this point. I would prefer Vince McMahon takes the hardest fall. It seems like he's not going to take any fall. But the rest of them catching some fucking spray pellets like fucking Dick Cheney shot him in the forest, hey, sorry. You know what I mean? Like, that's what you deserve.
Yeah, so let's get into that part of the conversation too, because one thing that I was very aggravated with the response from Twitter, Facebook, whatever you want to say, social media, right?
Or TikTok comments.
TikTok, all the things. It is this second half of the conversation where, let's just say that the Saudi deal goes through, right? And then this, doesn't that stink for Kevin Owens? Doesn't it stink for the New Day? Here's what I'll say to that. Especially for the more recent re-signs, like a Sami Zayn, like a Kevin Owens, like these other people that have been reported to re-sign contracts. AJ Styles, I think, is another one, right? When you knowingly go into business with an evil person, which it's known. And again, we've said this a million times. Vince is who we thought he is. He proves it every single chance he gets.
He goes out of his way to make sure you know it.
And so if you say, hey, man, the money here is really good, X, Y, and Z, then you're willingly signing a contract going into an agreement with an evil person. So when that evil person has consequences for their shitty actions, you also fucking suffer, and I'm not feeling bad for you. This was not as if Kevin Owens, I'll just use it as the example because he has me blocked on Twitter, so who cares anyhow. But this was not as if someone had Kevin Owens' wrist and pushed it down onto the piece of paper, made him sign a pen, and he put his name on. No, he said, I could go to AEW with my friends, the Young Bucks, or I could stay here because WWE's been my favorite thing since I was a little kid, since I was watching, Monday Night Raw, right? All this stuff. But he decided to stay. And so this is then when the other shoe drops. When, let's say the Saudi deal goes through and you don't like who now owns it, tough shit. He's an evil person. He went into business with an evil entity.
Yeah.
That's what happens.
And Jeffrey Sills brings up, he says, the Saudis own Newcastle Football Club, and that has a woman running it. So maybe it's not that. Maybe it's just Stephanie is not happy with Vince forcing his way back. Remember, she's part of the board voting against him returning. Now, that Newcastle, I did some reading up on this PIF, so I kind of know what I'm talking about. So I'm not completely coming out of the Bobby Heenan School of Journalism here.
Hey.
But that Newcastle thing was fought legally in the country, and like they had to sign some legally binding agreements that they wouldn't have that sort of like control and power over those kind of decisions, right? Like that they are literally just the financial partner. And they tried to fight against that. So like but, right? I would say that one's but I don't think that was the choice of the PIF, right?
Yeah. So with all that being said, let's just do one quick funsy kind of thing, and then we'll move into, well, we know that, but we'll go into one quick little funsy conversation. And then let's get into what we have is an email, and then that will transition us to our favorite topic, AEW and AEW Dynamite. So
right now, my favorite topic is Awesome Bill from Dawsonville, our beer sponsor.
Well, I mean, that's an easy. We knew that. Yeah, our beer sponsor of the week right here. Cheers.
I heard Awesome Bill from Dawsonville smells like what people who use Febreze to freshen up think they're going to smell like.
I heard Awesome Bill from Dawsonville, when he goes down the street, gets random compliments from people that he doesn't even know.
Yeah, right.
So
I heard he brings a bag of quarters to the Aldi and hands them out to everyone in the parking lot.
Oh my goodness. What a gent, right?
Solid
what a
dude.
Gentleman.
Solid dude.
It's an absolute wonderful person.
Saint.
Hey,
Saint
right here. Yeah.
Yeah. You too can be a saint and the beer sponsor of the week by donating to the Spanish Announce Table. Cash App Spanish Announce Table, SpanishAnnounceTable.net. There's a PayPal donate link. You could be awesome, like Bill from Dawsonville.
So let's get into this one quick thing. I just want to know, as of right now, it is January, what is it? 12th.
9 inches.
January 12th, 2023.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you think Vince is going to sell the company? And if so, who does he sell it to?
First of all, Awesome Bill from Dawsonville says, I smell like ganja. And Theo says, I hear when Awesome Bill from Dawsonville farts, it restores the ozone layer. That's a good one.
Perfect. That's
I like
perfect.
that one. All right. I think they do. Because I don't think
then to
any
who?
of the existing board is going to say, yeah,
I'm still
cool,
hanging out.
You can just be back and I'm hanging out. So either he takes it private or they sell it. And everybody's going to want to just be on team sell because they're going to cash out and make a shit ton of money, more than him probably just buying the stock, right? So
who's it to then?
Man, I'm going with the wild card. I'm going with the Saudi Arabia Public Investment Fund. Just so we can. Yeah.
Just to really wreck shit. Right. That'd be great.
Yeah.
That'd be great for us. I think he's
that
not
would be
selling.
Great for us.
Yeah. Fuck him. I love it. I don't think he's selling. I think he figured out an angle 2 to 3 months ago that this would be the Trojan horse to get him back into the seat he wants, kicking out the people who voted him off in the first place. And then he does a 6 months from now. Hey, fellas, shareholders, women, all the people alike, we just can't find a good buyer. No one can really come to terms with what you guys are wanting.
The way forward
is with me here.
Me being 89 and a half years old with my finger on the pulse of the nation at large.
Hey, and then I bet you he even puts in there a Nick Khan is running things great day to day as our CEO. And he says something to that effect. So I don't think it. I think maybe now here's what I'll say in January. I would not be shocked if summer or by the winter, Nick Khan steps away, Triple H steps away, and then it's just Vince by himself up there on the mountain. But I still think it's just going to be him.
Is Vince McMahon is 70 plus years old. We think he could live to 90 years old.
Yeah, his mom's still
also, but people fall at this age and die. You know what I mean? So the wild card there is that could happen, and then a month later, massive heart attack, right? Maybe a little bit too much cocaine off of people's backs that you later had them fucking sign an NDA for. I don't know.
Hey. So we have talked about ad nauseum why you people watch this shit. Look, I understand the nostalgia. As I showed you, I have the new Raw set from 1995. I have action figures of Mean Gene Okerlund, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Hulk Hogan, Macho Man, and all of the like. I understand the nostalgia feeling. However, with new information gathered, and again, Vince proving to us who he is at every turn, we have asked you, why are you still supporting it? Especially with so many viable, easy alternatives, such as Tim's shirt, GCW, such as what we're going to talk about in just a minute, AEW, such as Impact, and so on and so forth. So with all that being said, we finally have an email, which again, feel free to send us an email, tableshow@gmail.com. We love hearing your emails. We love reading them. Send us a voice memo if you want. Send us a video if you want. We'll play it here. All of that is welcome.
All kinds of ways to get in touch with us. Absolutely.
TikToks, all of the stuff. But tableshow@gmail.com. We got an email. Tim, you are a better public reader than I am, so why don't you go ahead?
Speaking of nostalgia, you can also chime in on our YouTube chat live on these shows, like Roy Baptiste, who said Vince will bring back Gerald Briscoe. Hey, right? Anyway, feel free to expand further on why Gerald Briscoe might be a good hire back for the sale of this company by sending us an email to tableshow@gmail.com like Brian J. Bay did here. And he says, why I watch WWE. Are you ready for this, Tom? He said, I will preface this by saying, I don't watch WWE all the time.
Yes. Love it.
I get what he's saying, right? Like, all right, so maybe not all the time, but here's why. There are a few things I watch for. Number one, the Bloodline and Sami Zayn. For me, it's entertaining. They're doing their best work so far. The build-up to turning on Sami is fun, although it is taking a long time to get there. And I think we agree that's the best story they're telling over there on WWE by far, and the best one they've probably told in a long time. If Sami Zayn had not been inserted into it a little while back, it would have been nauseatingly having gone on too long, right?
I agree.
Now, number two, Bray Wyatt and the Circle Six. Again, this is a very slow burn. I don't think LA Knight is the right way to go personally. It's not been the best road so far, but I just want to see the end result. And for me, I wouldn't mind seeing the end result, but I am just no longer under the belief that the end result will be good. This is me in response to this. Yeah.
And here's my 2 cents about that. I will say with that second point, curiosity does kill the cat, right? Mm-hmm. There is because we've seen in the past, the Firefly Funhouse match with John Cena. Going into that, we on this podcast was like, that's going to fucking suck. What is it? Is it going to be the snakes again on the mat? And it was
bugs on the ring.
Yeah. And it was one of the most incredible experiences as a pro wrestling fan I've ever had in my life.
Yeah. We call it the most entertaining wrestling match we'd ever seen, I think, at the time.
Yeah. at the time. So again, curiosity kills the cat. I can understand you tuning in for that. So that's number 2. Okay, what else we got?
All right, number 3, Sheamus and the Brawling Brutes. Sheamus is just good. Like Bray, he is over with every gimmick he is handed, and he's so good in the ring. He and the Brutes are fun and entertaining. And we've talked about Sheamus. You put Sheamus, I think, in your top 5 several times throughout many years, right? You tell people like, hey, quietly, you guys aren't talking about Sheamus enough.
Yeah, Sheamus, and look, there is that certain style of wrestling that I love more than others, and Sheamus does that style, that hard-hitting, fight-like style, not where you're doing high flips and stuff. It's more huge lariats and whatnot. Yeah, Sheamus is great. Walter is great. I'm not calling him Gunther. Fuck that. Walter is awesome. So yeah, I totally understand that. I would say to all 3 reasons, and again, maybe I'm a hypocrite, I don't know, but I just see that on Twitter. There's nothing there. And
right.
Here's the thing too. You don't have to follow WWE's accounts to see that. There's BR Wrestling, there's Fightful, there's all these accounts that says like, check out the great moment from fill in the blank on NXT. You know what I mean? So that's why.
I'll agree with him here in a summation here at the end. He says the rest of WWE is not that great. There are things once in a while that might be worth watching, but if I miss something, it's not the end of the world. AEW is superior by far. I will watch every match on AEW shows. Your AEW brother in arms, Brian J. Bay. Now, that's the thing is, yeah, I can watch a WWE show and pick out things that were fine, good, maybe even better than average. I don't want to discredit that. Very hardworking folks, some of the best in the business, do what they do there, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's I don't want to have to watch the other 2.5 hours of really bad shit, right? From really bad folks that I'm just like, I don't want to commit my time. So yes, if I'm sitting on the couch and doing something else and Raw is on, I might have it on. But I'm not even really watching it, man. It's still just, I've said this before. We had a whole thing called TV sucks. And it's kind of gone the way too, where it is simplistic stuff. It is so surface level nonsense. Like it's not real stories here. The Bloodline story in the Bray Wyatt Circle 6 are the only ones with any sort of depth to anything at all. Right? You know what I mean? Like any kind of real actual depth of anything, of any sort of actual human emotions, behaviors, any sort of things like that. And the problem with the Bray Wyatt one is, man, I know you think this is paying off and that you think it's leading to somewhere, but like you're leaving far too many details that you're expecting people are going to remember week over week, and the things you're saying, and you're doing 15 things when 4 would do, right? Like that's the problem with that one, right? It's just too much, for too long. And so the Bloodline Sami Zayn one is probably the only one that's passable to me. And so that's just the thing is like, I don't know why, even all the other shit aside where, hey man, it's supporting one of the most evil fucks I think I've ever known to exist in my lifetime. And even that aside, it's not good product. It's not good stuff.
So this is where I come in. So this is my angle. And again, I've said this multiple times over many different episodes. But it's called the Overton window. It's what you are willing to accept to then view as passable in your life. And everyone's window is different, right? You can see this view, I can see that view, all of the stuff. For me, it goes to that 100%. The Bloodline is fine. Go back to past episodes. Sami Zayn, even before he was doing the Bloodline and the conspiracy theories, one of my favorite all-time wrestlers. NXT, from when he was El Generico in all of the different promotions, PWG, Ring of Honor, all of that stuff. He is just one of the people I've always just connected with. Babyface or heel, I just love Sami Zayn. But to me, this is again me, Thomas. You could be different, and that's fine. But for
you could be wrong, but that's fine.
Right. But for me, I just can't support a company that's willing to go into business For example, with those Saudi Arabia events and not have Sami Zayn because he's Syrian. So it's those things, right? And again, look, I have an iPhone, right? This is made by sweatshop workers who are probably teenagers. It's fucking bad, but I'm accepting this as my reality. So that's where I come in. On top of that, then comes the points we're talking about. The bloodlines, okay.
Yeah, right.
The Bray Wyatt might be cool. Sheamus is going to give you a cool lariat. That honestly, no offense, but I can see from Hangman.
Right, yeah.
But again, it's like, so that it's bad makes it even easier not to watch it. But because of who that company is run by and the circle of groups, it's not just him.
Yeah.
It's all of them.
I
can't
don't
do
get for me too, I know we get a lot of people that come on this like fight of like AEW versus WWE. Yeah, people who say one or the other sucks, right? And we do say WWE sucks and AEW is great, right? But
yeah,
we're not coming from. But like for me, the whole thing was having those thoughts, right? Like this is kind of boring, and I don't like the people. When another product presented itself, when AEW was starting, my reservation the whole time was, man, I just hope it's not the flips and shit all the time and the Young Bucks being like, smell our dicks, and that it's got lights, you know what I mean? Like, and it's got good boards and it's got good production level. It's not all the way there, but when they showed that like they're throwing out at least a B+ to an A- on doing all those things, I was like, great. I don't get how you can like watch one or the other and be like, and just think that like, I guess I need more of an explanation for people when they watch AEW and they're like, this is so terrible versus the other one. I'm like, on what measurables? What are you talking about? Because they're doing the same things, right? They're both going out there, they're flipping around, they're fake fighting, and they're trying to tell stories while doing it, right? They're both doing that. But just like, so how you could ultimately say like one's like, we'll say WWE is terrible because they're not doing that portion well, right? They're doing all the flips well, they're doing all the lighting well, they're doing all the video packages well. It's those stories that they're telling that suck.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what we love, I think, about the AEW.
Yeah, Walter versus Ricochet as a standalone match is as good as any match that we're going to talk about on Dynamite from last night or anything AEW's done. It's not that the matches from WWE have ever been bad. Again, I will go to this tribalism where you're either AEW or you're WWE. To me, and again, this is speaking for myself, I'm just not WWE. If GCW would have got the TNT TBS deal, I guarantee you, Tim, we'll be recapping GCW light tubes in the face or whatever they want to call the fucking show, right? Like, it's just not that. And so that's where my tribalism comes in, is it's just the alternatives across the board are more interesting. And again, in 3 months' time, if Tony Khan, we find out, has been human trafficking his AEW dark wrestlers in, communities that they go to and stuff like that, well, then I'm going to change my opinion. But for what I know now, he's not an evil person. Neither is his father. So I'm going to support that. Also, Brett Lauderdale doesn't seem like a horrible person. So I'm going to support GCW. So that's where my attention goes to. And again, another thing, when you're talking about the boredom, there's a lot of competing factors on a Monday night. For example, I've talked about it many of times, and I love it, and I'm not ashamed of it at all. But Monday night is Holiday Baking Championship, motherfuckers. We got spring, we got holiday, we got Halloween, we got kids. I like all of that.
To me, the spirit of pro wrestling is a bit of a party mentality, right? We're coming in to watch a circus show, right? It's a circus show. Now, with the advent of television, we started telling week over week stories around that circus show, right? So you're going to have a bit of the zany. You're going to have a bit of the crazy. You're going to have the outlandish. You're going to have stuff that pushes the envelope, but you're going to have a lot of crowd fun interaction, right? And people loving these charismatic, over-the-top characters and stars, right?
Yep.
With WWE being corporate, I guess this will be the one thing I'll say about if they go back to private, right? Is with them being corporate, I think was one of the issues of they won't go far enough into those realms, right? Yeah. And that's where it's boring. And yet, like, you can say, they have mass appeal maybe, but like man, I just don't like, Tupac said it best one time when somebody asked him about MC Hammer selling 10 million records. He said, yeah, but 10 million crack rocks were sold. That doesn't mean crack is good.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just, I don't buy it, man. The stuff they're putting out there, man, if you're entertained by it and you're like biting your nails wondering what's happening, man, I think we're on different levels, man. Of some, like, I don't know, like, I can't get how you can get enthralled by the product that they're putting out. You know what I mean? Like, and that's where that's where I was like, how can you hate like what we saw in AEW Dynamite, right? Like, how can you be like, that was a fucking fun, the crowd was having a blast, and we're going to talk all about it because it was fun. It was fun. There were stories involved. There was comebacks. There was meaning to things.
Yeah, let's talk about it right now. So this guy I'm holding up, if you're watching the YouTube video, kicked off the wrestling event.
Jeffrey Sills did say, I hoped AEW wasn't TNA. That was my fear. I think I was like, man, I won a second, but the second that came last was a big
Side note though, and this is going off on a tangent. Side quest. We'll get back on topic and review Dynamite here in just a second. But side quest. And Kurt Angle was killing it in fucking TNA. And if it wasn't for the bad TV deals and all of the underexposure that he was getting, you motherfuckers would be saying he's the greatest wrestler of all time. His shit with Nigel McGuinness and Mr. Anderson, even though those two guys have never done anything of note at a national scale before, he was fucking killing it with them. The Main Event Mafia. Anyhow, I'm just going to say TNA had a moment in time, right? But yes, it's not TNA. It's much better. AEW fucking rocks. And it fucking rocks because of guys like this. And it kicked off with, last night, a blood feud. It was Jon Moxley walking out first, taking on Cowboy Shit, Hangman Adam Page. And Tim, these motherfuckers acted like they really didn't like each other because every move from a lariat to the punch in the face was hard as hell. What did you think of this opening contest?
I think that's a great encapsulation of all of this. The whole time, even before Hangman's injury, these two have made it feel like these guys really don't like each other, right? Mm-hmm. Like, these guys got something to prove against each other, and either they don't really like each other or they are really that elite at what they do, because I have felt, man, this is personal, right? Like, they have done a great job at that, and this match delivered. This was a pay-per-view quality match with a pay-per-view quality build up to it. Swinging out the gate, which AEW is notorious for, right? We're going to give you the thing maybe you were looking forward to the most right now. Let's go.
Yeah.
Ring the bell. Fucking the fireworks haven't fizzled out yet. Let's go.
Yeah. So this, again, as we talked about, hard hitting, back and forth, knockdown, drag out fight from all types of angles with buckshot lariats and paradigm shifts to count on both hands, it felt like. And at the end of this contest, Hangman Adam Page gets the buckshot lariat and pins Jon Moxley. Now, Tim, this is where the storyline came in, and I was very fascinated. So Hangman Adam Page overcomes the concussion that was suffered at the hands of Jon Moxley, goes through all those trials and tribulations of forgetting his child's name to then going through all the tests to just get cleared. He finally gets the buckshot lariat on Jon Moxley. He wins the match. And then as soon as he's almost mid-celebration, he sees Jon Moxley going through the same thing he went through. And as he walks up the ramp, he puts his head down as if he just saw a dog get kicked. And now he can't even enjoy the spoils of his victory. So what do you think from this? It looks like we're going with a
great storytelling.
Damned if you don't.
Great storytelling, especially because of the character work on both sides here, right? So before this match and after this match, the character storytelling was Jon Moxley is cold-blooded, really doesn't give a shit, right? He kind of liked that he injured Hangman, and so maybe he's not the fucking hero that all of y'all should look up to. And Hangman is the anxious millennial cowboy who's driven by, I love my fucking family, my career, this is my goal path, and you're gonna insult me over it, and then afterwards actually has the empathy and the sorrow for the guy who couldn't give two fucks about him. If Moxley had done the same thing twice, he would have been grinning and cutting another promo on the way out. So that juxtaposition of the character work done, that's what we're talking about, right? You're barely scratching the surface on the other side of the aisle with WWE in the Bloodline storyline with things like that. But the layers of the character work mixed into the storyline on this, so both of these guys can take that away. Even if they never touch again, which I'm sure they will, Moxley is now more sinister, and we are more bought into Hangman as the everyman, like, man, like I can, this is my brother here.
Well, so this is where it gets to be interesting, because now, from a storyline perspective, Moxley has suffered the same fate as Hangman by being concussed at the end of a match or during the match for Hangman. So how does he adjust, right? He was always the hammer and everyone else was the nail. In this match, he was the nail. So how does he recover mentally, physically, and emotionally moving forward? On the other end of the spectrum, Hangman Adam Page was always driven in this storyline by revenge and wanting that validation now that he got it, but then at the cost of seeing what he went through with watching Jon Moxley. So then on top of that, where do they go? Like you said, they may go separate ways.
I love conflicted Hangman, and I love that we keep finding ways to keep Hangman conflicted, right? So because it's that, right? Like, oh man, I did what I said, but look at the guy. Did I want to do that? Is that the person I am?
Yeah. And so then this goes into let's spin this forward a couple months. Let's just assume, for example purposes, MJF is still the champion. The buckshot lariat needs to be hit a third time. Does Hangman pull the trigger? He knows what the consequence of doing a third buckshot to an MJF is. MJF is the devil that we like to call him. But can Hangman live with concussing another wrestler? God. So it's just so
again, this is conjecture. We're fantasy booking a little bit on this, but that does feel like what we were getting from Hangman with the, like, what have I done here, right? Like, but he also still felt like, okay, I mean, I did what I was supposed to do, but what have I done, right?
Exactly. So yeah, I'm very interested in both stories. Now, peeking behind the curtain.
Jeffrey Sill says, finally, Mox is getting his long-awaited vacation. You think that's actually true?
That's what I was... Well, so, peeking behind the curtain. Again, we only want to talk about what we see on TV. But if we are peeking behind the curtain, and if you go back to the comments post All Out, Jon Moxley said, hey, I was supposed to have a vacation. I think a concussion in this regards is what's going to get him that time off. But when he comes back, the character, what is he? How is he? What does he do? Very interested. Now, we come back from break. Excalibur informs us that Doc Samson walked Jon Moxley back to the stage and is being attended to. So we still follow up on that concussion. And then Tony Schiavone's in the ring, and he goes, I'm not happy about what's happening next. This, yeah. And so in my notes, I'm almost like writing the J, because I think this is MJF, because MJF was being advertised. So I'm writing MJF interview. I get the J, and then it's all about the boom, baby. And Adam Cole is back. And what a surprise. Big surprise. And what a promo here. He just pulls on all the heartstrings. So first he says, I got good news and I got bad news. If you go back to past retirement speeches, that's typically how it starts. He talks about the good news being he has a good perspective on wrestling, and he respects the fans for checking in on him because it's a give and take, and he hasn't gave anything to him, but yet they were still checking in on him and giving him love and support. And then he goes to the bad news, and this is where, again, going back to past promos like this is where the other shoe drops, and he has to retire. But no, Tim, he says the bad news is for that locker room, and he's going to come back and he's going to kick some ass. So, Tim, Adam Cole is back. What do you think?
A big surprise. I am not the hugest Adam Cole guy. I don't dislike him, but I've never been like, oh my God, this is Team Adam Cole, baby, or anything like that, right? But knowing he was gone, I assumed, like I think everybody else, that he had a concussion, right? A legit concussion, and was out for a while. Come to find out, I mean, this is he's having tachycardia based from anxiety, right? And that's a horrible, if I can say something, and it brings in kind of this a thing that I think AEW is great about. And look, AEW allowed, or WWE allowed Roman Reigns to speak when he come back from leukemia. Like, we get those personal moments sometimes over there, but like the ability to speak about a mental health based thing, right, in this sort of male aggro world is refreshing, right? Because this is important here, right? And that he's able to kind of overcome that is one, I think, first and foremost, the thing that like made me really with the feels with this, right? Like Adam Cole, the guy, is that his real name too? We struggled with this with John Cena, right? So Adam Cole's not Adam Cole, right? It's whatever. Right. Adam Cole, the person who plays Adam Cole, like that's where I felt the most heartstrings of like, all right, well, I'm super happy there because by all accounts, from everything we've understood, he's a solid guy, right? Like really likes to give back to the fans, really just likes to take a low-key approach, live his life, you know what I mean? Like isn't some demon out there chasing things, you know what I mean? Like seems to be pretty decent, solid dude. So I was happy for that. The storylines, I think we're moving forward. If we're talking about on-screen stuff, well, now we've got Superface Adam Cole Bay, right? Like everybody's behind this guy now, right? So who and what, I guess, is my next question, right? Like, MJF's the champ. He's the super heel, right? But we can't rush Adam Cole comes back to that, right? So what do we do here, I guess?
So I'm not sure on that, but I do want to touch on some things you talked about. So one, the thing that I like about AEW in regards to the contrast between them and WWE in this promo as the example is, as you mentioned, Roman Reigns was allowed to go out there to say, unfortunately, I got to drop the belt. But he said, hey, my name is Joe. Like, this is Joe talking to you. The difference here, and maybe wrong or right, but for me, this is what I enjoy, is Adam Cole's real name is Austin. There's a funny story where WWE contacted Austin thinking they were talking to Austin Creed, Xavier Woods, but they sent the contact information to Austin, Adam Cole, and Adam Cole showed up going like, hey, what's up? And they're like, wrong Austin. Sorry, pal. So Adam Cole's not his real name, right? So that's how I know that. But that's all to be said. Adam Cole gave this promo. So this is the character. Again, I applaud WWE for that one example of allowing Joe to break character to say, I got something real shit going on, so I got to step away. But that was Joe. When he came back, it's Roman Reigns again, right? We never talk about it again. It's Roman Reigns. This now is Adam Cole. It's
part of the story. It's part of the Adam Cole story.
This is part of the Adam Cole story. Just like with Hangman, the anxious millennial cowboy and all of the demons that fight him isn't the real person who's portraying Hangman Adam Page. It's the character. So that's what I like about this. The second thing that I'll say about that is he does say, I'm super face Adam Cole, baby, right? I am not an Adam Cole historian. However, I have followed him for long enough to where I've been pseudo familiar with him. Definitely his NXT career and a little bit of his Ring of Honor career when he was doing the Bullet Club stuff, right? And all of that time, I cannot recall a babyface Adam Cole.
Sure. Yeah.
So that's the
could we
part for
argue
me.
Was the Undisputed Era ever pseudo baby
Possibly.
faces?
So I think possibly when they were doing the Pat McAfee thing.
Yeah.
Right. When Pat McAfee had Pete Dunne and all of those guys. But even then they were still Undisputed Era.
They're an Austin type baby face, right? An anti-hero type face. And so is he. And Jeffrey Sill says Adam Cole's real personality fits a baby face turn, but you know he's going to go back heel once he gets the belt.
Well, but that's the interesting thing. This is where my mind went to when he said, I'm getting the championship. Let's go back to MJF playing a little jab at Cody Rhodes where he wrote a list of all the people he was going to beat up. I don't recall, now maybe I'm wrong, but I don't recall Adam Cole being on that list. It was Eddie Kingston, Bryan Danielson. There were some other people there, but I don't recall Adam Cole.
Yeah, so like Triple H might have been on it or something, right? Like it wasn't. It was like weird names, but yeah, you're right. So maybe he was snubbed.
Right. So, but I don't know where he falls into this. I'm very interested to see what is an Adam Cole babyface? Like Jeffrey still says, yes, I think I think he enjoys the heel more.
I think you could masterfully, if you build it up enough.
Look like.
Well, if you build it up enough, I think you can masterfully do a double turn with those guys. Because MJF's the super heel, but you saw it. We'll get to his promo later. Fans are cheering with him when he's doing some of this, but it would take a pointed effort, and I think it'd be too early to do it. That's why I'm saying this thing with the Adam Cole timing makes me want to put that aside, because like MJF's got a lot of there's a lot to this run that needs to be had. I would think, but anyway. But Adam Cole's back, which is great. For a while I was like, man, we might not be seeing Adam Cole again,
and I
at least
missed
not
him
in that role.
And I missed him. As I said, I was never the biggest Adam Cole fan, but there was 4 or 5 weeks ago, I said on this podcast, it's like, I miss Adam Cole. Like I miss the baby and all the stuff and the boom and all that. It's fun to do. And he's a fun guy to watch. I think his AEW run has not been stellar. I think when he came in and was kind of already doing comedy act matches with Orange Cassidy, that doesn't do great. But now I think this is hey, I don't have a lot of time here, so let's do all the hits right now. And that's what I'm interested in. So with that being said, let's keep it moving here. So we do a backstage interview that made no fucking sense to me. It was the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn. And again, we'll find out on Rampage what this means. But they say they're going to get a Hollywood Walk of Fame or what the fuck was this?
Which is not real. Like they're not getting an actual Walk of Fame. But they did throw in the term board of directors, which I didn't know if that was a little jab. They were talking about the Walk of Fame board of directors, but I like that he shit on Trump in the moment, and Bowen's like, not my. He's like, hey, my boy. Good stuff, but again, this was throwaway to me because this was just like, stay tuned for next week was all it was. For me.
Well, stay tuned
for Rampage.
Rampage.
Yeah. Right.
Which Rampage has been saying, hey, let's make this more of a watch, a program you want to watch. So, hey, put the Acclaimed on there. I love it.
Yeah.
Look, one of the first things, if we back up just a quick bit, when we talked about the Vince McMahon sell the Saudi and Stephanie retire, one of the underlying things that I saw almost every third tweet was, can you imagine what Max Caster is going to say? So, I'm excited for Rampage on Friday night because what is Max Caster going to rap?
Man.
So, you got me ready, right?
It's going to be so good. Oh, it's going to be so
So,
good.
to plug that on Dynamite, I think was a great move. Now, let's get into such a fun tag team match here. It's Lee Moriarty versus Morrissey, not calling him Big Bill, fuck that, with Stokely Hathaway.
Look, even the announcer didn't want to say it.
It's fucking dumb.
He was like, Big Bill. Like he didn't even like saying it. Yeah.
It was bad. Underwhelming. But they're taking on Jungle Boy Jack Perry, hometown boy, and everyone's favorite rookie, winning the PWI Rookie of the Year. It is Hook.
Interesting. Boy and his hook, right? Whatever they were calling him on the show. I don't know.
Jungle Hook.
Jungle Hook. Boy and his hook. Should have been a boy and his hook. But I mean the pops for both. If we're talking top 2 pops, right, in AEW, we might have reached them on these two. I know I'd question when it first happened. I was like, are these guys friends now? But it also does make sense that like Hook is, as they're marketing him, is cool as fuck, right? Like we all accept Hook is the fucking coolest. The coolest person in the room is like, oh shit, did you see Hook? Hook's here, right? So whoever Hook wants to hang out with is Hook's friend, right? If Hook's like, yo, we gonna go get something to eat? You're gonna be like, yeah.
I'll drive.
I'm buying him. I'm grabbing. Yeah, right. Let's go. So fine. I liked it. I just, again, this is a bit of a weak story, but it's, not all of them are gonna be high end, top shelf stuff, and it was fine. And I like the match, right? Of course, but you were saying. So the payoff was the T-bone suplex, right? We teased it last week when we did Morrissey looking down at Hook showing no fear. Now, credit to them for getting it in a way that didn't make Morrissey look weak. Morrissey was standing there. He took a drop kick to the head from Jungle Boy. That led right into the T-bone suplex. Hook took a very prone Morrissey and threw his ass halfway across the ring.
Also credit to Morrissey for selling it as if he just found out he was adopted. Like he was so dumbfounded about what just fucking happened.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a really good moment. Lee takes the pin or takes the submission loss here. Jungle Boy puts him in the snare trap, gets the victory. To your point, I don't think this was going to be something that we're going to lead into a pay-per-view, but it was something that says, hey, don't you like Jungle Boy? Yeah. Don't you like Hook? Yeah. Well, we got this fucking faction over here that's not doing
going,
shit.
Right?
Yeah. And we got this faction over here that we had good plans for, but then CM Punk blew it all up. So what the fuck are we doing now? Right? So we shall see what happens to the firm. Also, we shall see what happens to the best friends. So we go backstage, and Orange Cassidy is being interviewed with Danhausen and Golden Globe winner Paul Walter Hauser, which, side note, I actually talked to this guy for an hour on Ron Funch's podcast. Super fan, really nice guy. But Danhausen's playing fun with Paul Walter's Emmy that he won for Blackbird and then his name and all this stuff. But then Paul asked Orange Cassidy, hey, you and the best friends cool? And then the best friends walk up and Trent, not 100% sold that he was happy, but he says, yeah, we're good. And they put in their hands. And then I think the camera was on him for too long because then they do 1, 2, 3. And it was kind of awkward at the very end. But what do you think here?
Oh, man. Are we getting a heel turn from the best friends?
Are we getting a heel turn? Are we getting a heel turn from Orange Cassidy?
Ooh, that might be the better route to go, right? And everybody's thinking it's the other way because Trent's the one butthurt, right? Right? That's what we're thinking. But maybe Orange Cassidy does. He's doing the like, oh, kicks or whatever, and then he gives an actual, how's your father to Trent.
And having Orange Cassidy as a heel, because look, the I don't care mentality is fun for a babyface, but it can work great as a heel, right? Pins him by just putting a finger on him, doesn't even like get into the ring, gets a disqualification. I mean, we could do some real fun things with a heel Orange 100%, Cassidy. So
100%.
Very
especially
interested.
Trent and Chuck could probably get a lot out of that.
Oh, definitely. All right, so then we move on and we get match 1 of, I guess, 8 more weeks. I'm not good at counting, but Bryan Danielson's in action with Takashi. Is that his name? I don't know. MJF. Takesha. Well, MJF says take a shitta. And so I thought that was funny. Yeah. But MJF pulls all the most racist cards here because
all of them.
Because he comes out and interrupts Bryan Daniels' intro.
In a weird way, it was okay that he said so much racist shit because he like did all of them. Right. It was like, if you're going to go in, go all in. Right.
And again, my thing that I've said since day one of this podcast is, if you're going to tell the story of Jesus, someone has to be the devil. We can't everyone have a good person if we're doing good versus evil. So it made 100% sense that he would say all of that shit because he fucking sucks. Right. Like he's a bad person. So, I mean, he's great, but you know what I'm saying? I thought the blocking of this or the arrangement was a little weird.
Yes. He comes out for the match and then MJF just gets to stop and then like tells him to get out of the ring and shit and stuff like that. And like, it was weird. Yeah.
I think this is, again, if I have the pencil, right, let me grab it here real quick. I have the pen and I'm going to book it. What I would do is have MJF come out, cut his promo, and then say the guy that's going to beat Bryan Danielson this week is this guy. And then he comes out and then you can say, hey, don't get in the ring yet. I'm not done. And then he does the Freddie Prinze Jr., the Ken Jeong, all that stuff. That would have made more sense. This was kind of weird.
First of all, I'm a little upset that Freddie Prinze didn't play into it enough. Ken Jeong gave the best performance. Like he was like, I'm going to fucking come in there and beat shit out of you. Like mad. And Freddie Prinze was like, all right, good one. Like, no, man, like, aren't you trying to be a wrestling promoter? Like, don't you get what's going on here? Be mad at him. Albeit, the rest of the crowd was kind of, like I said, cheering along with it. That's a little bit of the fine line that I think to somewhat surprise me a little bit is MJF is maybe straddling the line a little too much, right? Like, I think we are liking it a little too much, right? He's got to find something, and maybe the racist things, right, are a way to kind of steer you into that, right? But you don't want to go too far into that either, right? So how do we get us? Bully Ray was a master at this, where we're like, yeah, that was funny, and he'd be like, really? I think your mother's a bitch, and you'd be like, oh, hey, fuck you, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he could turn you back in a second. Hogan could do that too, right? Like, there's some folks that can flip you back when they don't want you to be cheering them, and I'd be interested to see if MJF can start doing that.
Well, the thing with Bully Ray, and again, peeking behind the curtain, from all indications, he is a fucking piece of shit person.
He is
so,
right, yeah. Right.
So it's easy for him to do that.
Came naturally, right?
Yeah. I don't know, even though MJF is committed to the character, if he really is a bad person. So we'll see.
From all accounts, he's not. Yeah, right.
I will say that he doesn't play into it like he was when he was flirting with the babyface turn before the Moxley match, right? He's not doing and say the catchphrase with me. So I will give him credit with that. Now, again, we're going to like what we like and all of that. But to me, MJF should never be heel, or excuse me, never be babyface. He should always be heel. Heel, heel, heel. Don't ever make him Miz babyface. It would
almost be, because then it would be too hard to go back, I think, right? Yes. We could easily write MJF into a babyface and have him shit talking all the heels. But then trying to go back would be the problem, right? That's where we wouldn't be able to reconnect. Back on the old subject before we continue on this one, on the best friends possible split up with Orange Cassidy. Jeffrey Sills, Awesome Bill from Dawsonville, the beer sponsor of the week.
Hey.
Heard that guy pays his taxes on time. He says they split up and Danhausen goes on a journey to bring the crew back together and go for the trios against the Elite. Oh my God, that would be fun storytelling. Danhausen trying to mend the broken hearts of the best friends. Oh, that could be such good stuff.
Oh, and threatens them with curses if they don't get back together. Yeah, that's so much fun. I like that. That's a great idea. Love that idea. Then Danielson comes out after MJF's promo, and these two, again, have just a knockdown, drag-out fight. Danielson gets the victory. Afterwards, raises the hand of his opponents because he's still being babyface here. So, yay, there we go. And next week, we get Danielson versus Bandito, which, fun fact, that's Spanish for bandit.
Write that down.
There it is. Write that down.
Bandit.
So, he takes on. Yeah.
All right.
So, he takes on Bandito. Where do you think? Who do you think is going to be that match where we go, oh fuck, I think he actually might lose this one? Who is that person? Do you think?
That's a bit of the worry with this is I don't know that we have it, right? Like MJF or excuse me, Bryan Danielson's already wrestled all the top names in AEW that are at his level. Are they not?
Mm-hmm. You know what I would do? MJF says in his last ditched effort before this Iron Man match were to take place, hey, fuck you, Danielson. All you're doing is beating guys that Tony Khan is picking for you because Tony Khan likes you. Let me pick out your opponent. Danielson then goes, yeah, fuck you, fine, whatever. And then he picks Claudio. And you do Claudio versus Danielson. Because if you recall, the last time we did BCC versus BCC, Danielson lost to Moxley. So then we would find out a true pecking order of what the BCC is.
Yeah, because that's the spirit of the Blackpool Combat Club, right? They're not
going to lay down
for you.
Yeah.
Right. And Danielson's like, well, I wouldn't want you to because I don't need you to. And he's like, oh, you don't? and then we get I like that. Well, and I thought about an interesting wrinkle could be on the way there is he's like, all right, well, Tony Khan I'm going to pick this one. And he doesn't work for me anymore, but in this situation he does. You're taking on Wardlow, right? And then Danielson's got to fight Wardlow. Wardlow's like, fuck you, dude. And he's like, get in there, right? We have some of that same thing where he's like, all right, well, I'm going to beat this guy, but because I need to beat this guy, not the fuck you, right? Like you get some of that going on. I think that can help. But the Cesaro one or Claudio one is, God, that's good stuff. Yeah, hire Tom. I like that. That's a good answer.
So those are the two most viable options. Because I agree, a Wardlow coming back with a shaved head, I'm kicking everyone's ass. Who the fuck are you to tell me what to do? I like those. Those are two very viable options.
Oh yeah, you could say, old friends or old bedfellows or whatever, and now we've got a heel Wardlow. Maybe that could be good too.
Yeah. But can I tell you a secret of who I really want it to be? I want MJF to bring back Nick fucking Gage.
Yes. Get a fucking pizza cutter. Fucking
Bryan Danielson, the greatest technical wrestler, taking on Nick Gage, the greatest deathmatch wrestler, would just be insane.
Especially if he was able to put some like stipulation on it too. Like just
and because Bryan Danielson, when peeking behind the curtain again, when he did his post-match interview for the first time he wrestled in AEW, he's like, I want to do things that scare me. Go with the fucking guy that'll kill you. Like legitimately. Go ask David Arquette. He'll fucking really try to kill you.
We met Nick Gage. We hugged Nick Gage. But I was at all seconds aware that he might shank me.
I hope he would. Fucking take me. Lay me down softly. You know what I mean? Just fucking get me with the light tube right in the sternum.
Tom would have went with any suggestion Nick Gage made in that moment. If Nick Gage said, we're going to go break into the White House, Tom would have been kicking the door down.
If he said, we're robbing a bank again and I'm going to be successful this time, I'm saying, fuck yeah, I'm right there with
masks.
You.
Fuck that. I ain't a pussy. And Tom would be like, yeah, you're right. We're not pussies. Fuck that. Let's go, Nick Gage. Love your fucking energy.
Love your fucking energy. God, he's so great. Okay, so then backstage, we do an interview with Juice Robinson. Remember that guy?
Yeah.
He's here.
What was this, too? He was weird.
He is weird.
Fine, stick out, right? I get it, but like it was odd.
Rock hard or whatever he is, but he issues an open...
Jeffrey Sill says, you sure know your Espanol, Tomas. That's Spanish for Thomas.
Rosetta Stone.
All right, look at this. Weird. You learn stuff when you watch the Spanish announce table.
Tell you what.
But here we go. Beer, by the way.
Oh yeah, I got to mix it up because I have all the chemo and stuff.
Well, I'm on the stout too. I might need a water here pretty soon. Been down to these stouts. Should have brought a knife and fork.
Hey, oh man, that's great when they're thick like that. Anyhow, Juice Robinson essentially
I love them thick.
Yeah, long and short of it here is Juice Robinson challenges Darby Allin. So we're going to see Darby Allin beat up Juice Robinson. That'll be fine. And then Tim, it's not technically right before the main event, but it is the last match before the main event. Tim, you know what time it is?
It's
time
for
the women!
Fucking Tony. Love the predictability.
Look at that. Oh, here's a woman.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's time for the women, and guaranteed Britt Baker's going to be one of them.
Yeah. And she
Which hasn't necessarily been true for the most part. But the women before the main event has been a noticeable 98% of the time.
Yeah. Because they main evented once with Sheeta and Jamie Hayter, and then they main evented another time with Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa, and that's it. But here we get a tag team match.
Hold on. Again, we're on a bit of a delay with the live stream, so the chat sometimes forces us to dial back a little bit. But Jeffrey Sill says Danielson is going to counter the spin into the Regal stretch. Now, that would be impressive. He's got the Claudio spin.
Claudio.
Counters it in the stretch. Hey, if you tell me that's going to happen, I'm paying you money for it.
Exactly. Yeah, 100%. That'd be great. But here we go. We got a women's tag team match. It's Toni Storm taking on Saraya. Or, excuse me, it's Toni Storm and Saraya taking on Jamie Hayter and Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. And I talked to Kata, longtime supporter of the show. Kata, shout out.
It's Kata.
And
nice.
I was under... So the finish here comes where Hikaru Shida, not asked by anyone, and also did not walk out with Toni Storm and Saraya, walks down to the ring, kendo stick in hand, and then at a weird time where the ref is distracted, she throws the kendo stick at the feet of Toni Storm, which is then intercepted by Britt Baker. Britt Baker uses it on Toni Storm. Jamie Hayter gets the victory. Hikaru Shida acts like she just screwed up. Oh my goodness. Now, if I were to predict, and if I get this wrong, I don't give a shit. But if I were to predict, I would think Shida did that on purpose, but oh, what did I do? However, it just felt a little clunky. What did you think?
Same thing. I thought it felt a little clunky, but I guess, yeah, sometimes it can be a mistake that wasn't necessary. Like, it wasn't a, oops, what did I do? I was trying to help, but there was already, we weren't kind of liking each other. And now you're like, what the fuck did you do? And be like, hey, I agree we weren't kind of liking each other, but I was trying to fucking be nice. So, like, now I'm really pissed off that you're mad that I was trying to be nice, trying to fucking, you know what I mean? Like, you were the asshole the whole time anyway, right? Like, so maybe that's where we're headed, and that's kind of what I feel. Is like, yeah, maybe that's what we're getting. But it was clunky. I agree.
I also think Shida should have just came down with him. That she walked down 3 to 4 minutes into the match. Mm-hmm. That's what threw me off as well, is what the fuck are we doing here, right? So that was awkward.
Yeah. But Jeffrey Sills says the real person to bring in to beat Danielson, El Generico and Kevin Steen. Yeah, well, I mean, even if deals start happening, those guys aren't released from their contracts for a while. So
yeah,
that would, that
would be great.
I would pop.
Yeah.
We'll say that.
Love El Generico, one of the best.
He does say, I like Juice when he's rock hard and part of the Bullet Club. I'll give it that. The rock hard line is kind of fun. I
still like, even though they wanting us to boo him, but CJ Robinson or CJ Parker, yeah.
Why did we boo the guy that was saying we needed to like help the environment? Like, we do. Yeah. Like, why are we mad at that guy? He was just like, hey, we should stop putting trash on the ground. And we were like, fuck you. It's weird.
Yeah. We were the Sarah Palins to his fucking just rational ideas. But hey, right before the main event, we did get an interview segment. It is the Jericho Appreciation Society. Chris Jericho mentions how they invaded PWG Battle of Los Angeles. That got a huge pop because, again, they are in Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. That was also pretty cool. Did you get to see that online?
Yeah,
but they came in, did a match. That was pretty fun. And then they're just talking shit. And then here comes Ricky Starks and Action Andretti. And they're fine. Ricky Starks is... Here's the thing I don't like about Action Andretti and Ricky Starks. Now, again, we're peeking behind the curtain. It totally makes sense that you're going to put a rookie at this level with someone more experienced. However, it is so painfully obvious that Ricky Starks is up here 6 to 7 levels ahead of Action Andretti. So to put him there, it just makes it just doesn't aesthetically look good.
You know how we refer to some wrestlers as they look like the generic dollar store wrestling figures, right? Where it's like, you know what I mean? And they have a generic name. Action Andretti not only looks like that, his name is also like what they would name the generic wrestler at the dollar store. So it's really hard to get behind. And yes, right now we were on the Ricky Starks is that fucking dude train. And now we're adding some extra weight and slowing that down.
That's it right there. That is it 100%. If we're saying Ricky Starks is the fucking man, which I think we're all in agreement, he's the fucking man.
He's the fucking guy. Yeah, we like that guy.
He doesn't need, and look, I love Powerhouse Hobbs, but he doesn't need a second like he had with Powerhouse Hobbs. Now, Powerhouse Hobbs is fucking awesome, and Action Andretti just is not right now.
Oh, yeah. He could have a Kevin Nash to the Shawn Michaels if we were going to go that route, but right now he's on a face run, so we're not going that route.
And he just needs to be Ricky Starks. Ricky Starks, right? This guy, Ricky Starks. He doesn't need BFF with him. That shit, no, he's done that already, right? We don't need it again. The other thing with Action Andretti that I'll say is, brother, I know you're watching. I know you're listening. Thank you so much for the support, but like lean into it, right? So like the hottest thing in motorsports right now is F1. Be a fucking F1 driver, right? Be the 2023 version of Spark Plug Bob Holly and fucking wear the nicest, like, because that could fit with Ricky Starks, because if you watch F1 or if you watch the F1 Netflix show, like, it's the top of the top, $1 million where Will Smith and Tom Brady are going to watch you race. Be that fucking guy where you're walking around like, I'm the shit and I can race cars, right? Like, but right now you're just walking out going, my name's Action and I'm Andretti and I got to win over the old Chris Jericho. How about that? It's fuck out of here. Hey, so this ends, though, with, honestly, probably the most underwhelming thing they could have done. Ricky Starks challenges Jake Hager to a match. And someone still thinks that the I like this hat is fucking cool. It's not me.
Dude, that was what I was saying about the Jericho thing. It's like, yes, Jericho can come up with things that are funny to say, and we might want to say, but he will write it until he knows nobody wants to say it anymore. You know what I mean? They will take it too long.
Oh, they're selling the fucking...
Anna JAS said, I will choke you out. It was funny once.
And they're selling the fucking hat on Shop AEW. So, like, they really think you're going to love it. And no. But yeah, so we're going to get that. Ricky Starks has to carry the weight of Jake Hager next week. By the way, Jake Hager, I get it. You're undefeated. You're beating fucking grocery store baggers from Hy-Vee in Raytown, Missouri. Fuck out of here. Anyhow, then we get to the main event, and it is
literally
match
from Raytown, Missouri. Like, actually,
yeah,
right.
He's only beating up guys from Kansas City that we can drive and go meet. JW Kaiser. I've punched that motherfucker in the face many times.
They'll sign up to do it if we pay for their fucking Whataburger.
Yeah, but like, I've trained with JW Kaiser. His first victory. That guy fucking sucks. Anyhow, sorry, JW, you're a great guy.
Jeffrey still says Action Andretti needs to fall back like Homer did into the bushes on the mic.
Or just in general. Look, where's Miro?
He's great for ROH, right? Like, I thought we were starting
yes. There you go. Send him there. I want Miro. Fucking put Miro with Ricky Starks. I'll buy that more, but I ain't buying Action Andretti. All right, so we get into match 7. It is the ladder match for the AEW Trios Championship. And we got everything at once. This was everything all of the time, as Bo Burnham would say. And Young Bucks Elite, let's just we have 3 minutes. Let's hit every move at all at the same time. And that's what they did here. It was everybody
finisher at the same time.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Yeah, this was a trios version of Brock Lesnar versus Goldberg at WrestleMania, where it's just finishers all the fucking time.
The delay hitting us once again. Jeffrey still says, if Ricky Starks is a dollar store rock, Action Andretti is the Family Dollar Ricky Starks.
That's great.
Great line.
Yeah, that was a great one.
Right.
So, hey, the show ends here with Kenny Omega picking up the tag team titles off of the ladder. He hits the one-winged angel off of the ladder onto Rey Fenix. Good match. Great 7 matches. If I were to say, hey, watch these 7 matches, I think everyone would be like, those were fun. However, the one thing that was a little disappointing in retrospect, now that I've had a night to think about it, and they used it once in this match, but it wasn't the storytelling that I was wanting, but the hammer. We're talking about the hammer in the first 3 matches.
The whole thing was about the hammer. That's what started the 7 series feud, was because of their issues with the hammer, right? Like,
yeah. And so I like how we went from.
Here's where I'll challenge something as well, right?
Okay.
Again, we discussed how, a 7-match series is this reserved, valued concept, right? We really haven't overused this in pro wrestling. There's a few examples, but I definitely don't think it's been overdone. So we asked at the start of this, is this venturing into that territory? Because this storyline wasn't necessarily quite there. And you said, yeah, maybe, right? You brought up, here's why and why, right? But like, it feels like, yes, we did it, but I don't feel like now the situation is over, right? Nobody got the better of anybody. Nobody proved they're better than anybody. Nobody definitively said, all right, we don't want to fuck with these guys anymore. So I don't feel like it happened, right? Like, yeah, we had a best of 7 and the Elite won, but if we did an 8th, it would even up again, right? Like, I just don't feel like anything was accomplished with this. And that's kind of where I'm a little disappointed.
Yeah, it doesn't, and also it doesn't feel like any team is any different besides 1-1 and 1 loss, right? Death Triangle didn't break up.
This was the end of Death Triangle, right? Some other wrinkle in the story we're missing here. The hammer didn't end the Death Triangle, right? Like, that's the story I thought we were telling.
Yeah, or it didn't bring the Elite closer together because they were able to save, right? One of them sacrificed themselves by getting hit with the hammer, whatever it is, right? Like, yeah, it just felt like, hey, man, those were 7 cool matches, but not, as we were talking about, AEW does really well with the storytelling. I felt like they did really well for the first 3 matches, and then the next 4 were, hey, isn't this shit cool? Well, yeah. All right, then we're just going to say it's cool. And it's like, I mean, okay, right? So, Trios champions are the Elite. Now, this is what I think. Peeking again behind the curtain, as I like to say, maybe will be a t-shirt later. But I think now, whatever was supposed to happen at All Out, right? Because the inaugural champions were the Elite beating Dark Order and Hangman Adam Page. I think whatever that was, whatever we had planned before the Brawl Out, I think now that's what we're going to get. And I think that because going back to the start of the night, as we mentioned, Hangman is distraught. Now, if you recall the finish to their match at All Out, Hangman had to watch as he fucked up and hit John Silver with the buckshot lariat. He was being held down as John Silver got the 1-2-3 count. Again, he was distraught. A little bit different, right? Because now it's, I don't know my own strength. What am I doing here?
Right.
But again, he's at a crisis. So whatever we're going to do post All Out with Hangman, the Elite, and all of that stuff, I think now we're going to get to that. I think this is where whatever that was, because now again, if everything would have coincided with what their plans were, Jon Moxley's out, Hangman's conflicted, the Elite are your trios champions. Everything's back to what it was at the end of All Out before CM Punk blew everything up. So I'm interested to know what happens next.
Well, and there's that caveat too of FTR has been saying, hey, let's all do business. And look, business could be business and that could be made. Not something I really want to see.
Oh, God damn it, Tim. Tim, you don't want to see that? You don't want to see the fucking crowd lose their mind?
I would want to see it if it wasn't. Yes, that part will be cool. But when CM Punk can't walk out midway through the match because he broke his fucking heel, then all of it's going to be less impressive than we thought it was going to be. It's always going to undeliver, right? Or just fall short of delivering.
He will do that because physically he's just not capable, and he's never been athletic enough to be capable of it. And now he's 45 years old. However, again, if you pay attention to Twitter and all of that, Dax Harwood said that FTR is going to sit out the remainder of their contract.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe that for one fucking second, because what Dax Harwood said is FTR wants to take a break to heal up, which is probably true because they went through some hard fucking matches. But
all
then
year they were
right.
killing.
But then after that, they may want to do things that have always interested. This is all a red herring. No, they fucking don't. What's going to happen is the Elite are going to do whatever they were going to do with Hangman, because I think those two things align back to, again, what all that was supposed to be. And then the Elite are going to be like, we're fucking the best, huh? And then Cult of Personality hits. He walks in. Kenny Omega then grabs the microphone and is like, it's 3 against 1. Do you want to do this again like it's Chicago? Going into that, right? Ace Steel isn't here to help you. Someone will say that line. Ooh, everyone gets excited. And then dun 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 da, da, and FTR fucking walk out. Whatever that next pay-per-view is, trios match. And here's the beauty of it. CM Punk can do one go to sleep or miss it and get hit with a super kick. Doesn't even have to break a sweat, really. And we get probably the match of the year because FTR can fucking do that with anyone.
Oh yeah, and the pop of the night. Yeah, I'm not discrediting that. It's smart business. Yeah, I just, yeah.
Dun, 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 dun,
It would be
dun,
cool to
dun.
see CM Punk. It wouldn't be so cool to see Phil Brooks. How about that? You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
So, but here's the fun thing about the AEW aspect of all this shit we talked about earlier. If you were to believe the knuckle draggers of reporting, which is pro wrestling journalists, you would believe that Miro, FTR, Sean Spears, Andrade were so mad and upset, and we got to get out
ready
of
to go
here.
back and work for Triple H.
We got to go back and work for Triple H. Well, that motherfucker ain't around anymore, or at least not calling the shots. And as if you recall on Twitter, Tony Khan, when the news broke that Vince McMahon came back, said, "It's crazy how everyone's so nice to me today."
Yeah. So it must be the extended holiday spirit, he said.
Yeah.
I love that Tony Khan isn't shy of, like, you know, being like, "Hey, fuckers," right? Like, he'll talk some shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and word is that they have put their names in as interested buyer. Now, it sounds like the Khans, first of all, they won't have a shot.
Yeah.
And it sounds like they also don't have the funds themselves, that they have said, "Hey, we're interested. We'll get a team together." But look, if names like Comcast and Fox are in on it, you're probably not in on it, Cons. You know what I mean? I could be wrong, but.
Well, I think they could definitely get the money. That the money aspect is not hard for them to acquire.
And I think that's what they told him. Like, "Hey, we'll find the money." But I just think that people are going to be like, nah, we're not you. Right.
Well, I think it's hey, we're your last option. Because if they really get their back to the wall and all options have been legitimately exhausted, where Comcast says no and leaves the table, we said Disney and all these others, and then the Cons are like, nah. Now, it won't happen. Because again, we could bid to buy WWE. Bidding for anything is fucking easy. Like, I work for a company that does RFPs, which is requests for proposals. I see 1,000 fucking invited vendors to bids that they have no dealing with, but they just want to put their hat in the ring. So yeah, that's all this is. But it would be fucking cool, wouldn't it?
It would be great. It would be. I would love the name does say Khan, but it says Tony Khan, right? Like, just lean into it. Just fucking.
But from a health perspective, I would never want that to happen, because Tony Khan will legitimately think he can do it all, and he will die. He will die.
Well, and just, we had an issue with one person owning the entirety of pro wrestling television, at least stateside, and we didn't like it. And so I would think some of the same issues would raise their head. But AEW was fun, and it was so fun, and it felt like a party, and it felt like friends, which is not what's been happening on the other side of the fence with WWE. And Vince McMahon is trash, and I don't know what else to really say about that. You know who's not trash is our beer sponsor of the week, Awesome Bill from Dawsonville. Again, you should follow him on Instagram at FuckYoMama 2 times. That's FUKYOMM or MOMMA 2X. And I heard, Tom, that Instagram asked him to join so that they could go viral. Facts. And so you too could be the beer sponsor of the week. We told you, SpanishAnnounceTable.net. Hit the PayPal donation, or just hit us up on the Cash App, Spanish Announce Table. Chat with us live during the YouTube streams like all these folks have over here. The Jeffrey Sills, the Roy Baptiste was in there. Theo was in there. We've had a lot of fun tonight. Tom.
I love it.
Wrestling. It's we'll have more to talk about the unfolding story, right? But wrestling is ever changing, and we're here for you. We're here to give you the updates each week, so we'll hope you join us next week right here on the Spanish Announce Table.
The Spanish Announce Table.